This prettier extension doesn't do what I want. Yeah, see, I save it and it turns into that. Huh. You know what? Let me disable that real quick. That's not right. So I'm going to go to settings, format on save. Let's set that to false. All right, so now it's not, I'm saving it and it's not redoing it for me. So let me try this again, and we get 13. All right, so that's a lambda. So we're going to move on now to conditionals. So I'm going to clear this up, and let's open up, we'll save it. Let's open up conditionals.py, which is right here. And we're going to look at if statements, if else statements, and these work pretty much like any other language. You test to see if something's true or false, and you do something based on that condition. So I'm just going to create a couple variables up here. Let's say x equals 10, y equals 5. And when we do an if statement, we can use comparison operators like equals to, not equals to, greater than, less than, greater than or equals, less than or equals. So let's do an if statement here. Now we don't have to use parentheses like that. Like in a lot of languages, you'll use this syntax. We're just going to say if x is greater than y, and then we want to put a colon and then just indent the next line. And I'm just going to do a print. We'll use an f string, and I'm just going to say x is greater than y. And obviously you can do whatever you want in here. I'm just going to print this out though. Okay, so let's save this and let's run it. So Python 3 conditionals.py, and we get 10 is greater than 5. Now, if I were to change y to 50 and run it, we're not going to get anything because this isn't running, because this is not true. Now, you can also have else, okay, so if we wanted something else to happen if this isn't true, then we could do that. Let me just put a comment here. So this is a simple if. And then we'll just do, let's say, if else. So I'll go ahead and just copy this. And then let's put an else. So we do else colon, and then just indent the next line. And I'm going to copy that print and just reverse it. We'll say y is greater than x. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run this. And we get 50 is greater than 10. Okay, it's running the else because this is not true. So let's see, let's actually copy this if else, because now I want to show you how to use an elif or an else if. It's actually ELIF. So ELIF. So let's say not only do we want to test to see if it's greater than or less than, but also if it's equal to. So in the middle here, I'm going to put ELIF colon, and then we'll go ahead and print something. So we'll print x is equal to y. Okay, so if I run this right now, wait a minute, what did I do wrong here? Invalid syntax. Oh, I didn't put a condition. So this elif here, obviously this needs a condition. We're going to say if x is equal to y. All right, so if we run this now, we're going to get 50 is greater than 10. But if we change this to be equal, like let's change y to 10 as well, and we run it, now we get 10 is equal to 10. Okay, this right here, this condition is true, so it's running this. Now we can also do nested if statements, which is an if within an if. So for instance, if I wanted to do if x is greater than 2, and then do another if statement here and say if x is, let's say, less than or equal to 10, then let's do a print. We'll say x is greater than 2 and less than or equal to 10. So we can do that, and right now it's equal to 10, so that should run. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot my indent. Okay, so now it runs. Now this isn't a great way to do this. If you wanted to do this exact condition, what I would suggest doing is a logical operator and using AND, okay? Because what you're saying here is both of these need to be true, right? So what we could do is we could instead say if x is greater than 2 and x is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so it's a cleaner way of doing it, and then we would run that. Okay, so let's comment this out and run that, and we get the same thing. And you can also do or and not. So if I were to copy this and do or, the difference here is with and, both of these have to be true for this to run. With or, just one of these has to be true, one or the other. So this would be or. All right, and then we also have not. So for not, let's just do something really easy. I'll say if not, and we can pass in here a condition like x equals y, then, oops, actually we'll just type this out. So print x all right, and that actually they are equal right now, so I'll change that to, let's say, 20, and now that should run. So you'll see right here 10 is not equal to 20. So in fact all three of these are running because they all evaluate to true. All right, actually no they don't. Hold on. Y. Oh yeah, they do, because we didn't even test y. All right, so I'm going to comment this stuff out. And let's move on to membership operators. So basically what this is used for a lot of times is to test to see if something is in like a list. So if we do numbers and we set this to a list, and let's say we want to test to see, we don't need that. If we want to test to see if 3 is in the list, I'll actually change the x value up here to 3. So let's say if x in the name of the list, which is numbers, then we could do something. And we could even do this. We could say print, and we could do x in numbers, just like we did in the if. And what this will do is give us a true or false. Okay. So if this is true, then this is going to give us true. So if we were to run this, you can see we get true. At the same time, we have not in. Okay, so this is an in, and we also have not in. So we can say if x not in numbers, then let's print x not in numbers. Right now, that's not going to run because 3 is in the numbers, but if I were to change it to, let's say, 13 and run it, we get true, which is corresponding to this right here. Okay. We also have identity operators of is and is not. So for instance, and I don't use this too much, but we could, just to show you it's possible, we could do like if x is y, and then we could do the same thing we did above by printing the conditional, or we'll get a Boolean from this condition. Print x, is y. So let's actually comment this out. And if I run this, we get nothing because x is not y. But if we change it to 20 and we run it, then it should give us true. Okay, it gives us true because x is y. And then at the same time, you could do is not. So we could say x is not y, and then we'll print true if x is not y. So we'll change it to something else, and we should get true again from that statement. And that's that. All right, so that was a little longer than I wanted to spend on conditionals, but yeah, so it's pretty simple, at least basic if else and stuff like that. So now we're going to move on to loops. Okay, loops are an important part of any language. A loop is used for iterating over a sequence that is either a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or a string, or a custom condition. So let's do a simple for loop that loops over a dictionary. So we're going to say people equals, I'm sorry, not a dictionary, a list. So let's say John, Paul, Sarah, and Susan. All right, so I just want to do a simple for loop. So I could say for person. It's actually a for in. If you're familiar with ES6, we have for ins in JavaScript ES6. So we can say for person in people. And let's go ahead and print. And let's just put an F string in here. We'll say current person. And then we'll put in the variable of person, which represents whatever person in that current iteration. So let's go ahead and run Python 3 loops.py, and we get current person, John. It goes through again, Paul, Sarah, Susan. Now we can also break out of a loop if we want. So let's look at break. So I'm actually going to copy this, but I want to say here, I'm going to use an if statement. I'm going to say if person is equal to, let's say, Sarah, then I want to break. Otherwise, I want to print this current person. So let's see what happens here if I comment this out. Notice that we just get John and Paul. So what happened is we broke out of the loop. We basically stopped it if the person was Sarah. Now we also have a continue. So let's see what happens if we do that. So I'm going to copy that, and instead of saying break, we're still going to test to see if it's Sarah, but instead of break, let's do a continue. And let's comment this out. So now we get John, Paul, and Susan. So it didn't just stop the loop when it got to Sarah like it did with the break. It basically just skipped Sarah and kept going and then called Susan. Okay, so that's the difference between break and continue. So we also have something called range. Okay, so let me give you an example of that. All right, so I'm going to say for I in range. Now we could put anything we want in here, basically any range, any numbers. First I'm going to show you how to use it with the list we just created, the people list. So we can take the length of people. Okay, so for I in the range of the length of the people list, and then let's just print, we'll say people I. Okay, so this is similar to just a standard for loop. We're going to go ahead and run this, and it's just going to print out all the people's name. I could have did an F string, current person, or whatever, and instead of just person, I'd have to use people and then I. And we can do custom ranges as well. So if I wanted to do for, oops, don't want that, for I in range, and then we could put, let's say 0 to 11, and then let's just print